Preston Thorne, Elijah Campbell, and Jen Jensen on the Game Network and streaming on the 107.5 The Game app.
Good morning, early game crew. Rise and shine. If you missed a lot in the world of sports last night, I don't blame you because I think I fell asleep at like 9 o'clock. It was an early one for your boy.
Congratulations.
It was good. I got a good night's sleep. I don't get to say that often, but I got a really good night's sleep. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen, my man, Kel Wilson, who's going to be hanging out with us and producing next week in the studio, learning how the morning show works. Learning that operating on no sleep is part of the magic.
It's part of the deal.
I would say part of the charm.
Yeah, charming like the house that's named Charming, like a real estate listing that's called Charming. It's like, I know what you're trying to do there.
Yeah, putting lipstick on a pig.
I know
Just to be really honest.
I know what you're doing there.
Jen, if I'm touring a home with you that you're trying to sell me and you refer to it as charming,
It could actually be charming. It could have
be.
really some charming features.
it's like, yeah, the door here is off its hinges. The floor's
that gives
a
it
little
some
uneven,
charm.
but it
Yeah.
gives it some charm, right? This is a real fun floor to play marbles on because you can rig the game, right?
No, I won't lie to you. I promise.
Yeah, she
But
would.
no, but
Jen would never.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
There you go.
It absolutely is. But I am a little upset, though, that I missed one of the biggest upsets in college basketball last night. Gonzaga got beat by Portland.
And now, is this a weird Portland? Is this like Portland, Maine, or Portland? Like,
It is Portland, the Pilots of Portland. 22.5-point home underdogs.
Never heard of them.
They end up winning that game.
The Pilots.
The Pilots. They're the Portland Pilots.
I reserve teams like that for March.
And it's really funny? They're the Pilots, but their logo is like the little like circular wheel thing on a boat, like the steering wheel on a boat.
Sure.
I thought maybe aviation based,
Never seen them.
maybe not something as nautical, but they ended up beating number 5 Gonzaga. Gonzaga even went to that game wearing some sick road jerseys too. Like they wore their throwbacks from when they had their first NCAA tournament run back in like 2000. The slipper still fits game, if you will, one of Gus Johnson's best calls ever. They wore that and the slipper fit for the other team that night. Ultimate irony right there. But Shane Beamer talked yesterday. I know we haven't had as much in the news to talk about with this football team.
And that's good.
And that's good.
That's fine.
It's the offseason.
It's cool.
Right? I mean, we have found lists of other people that we could poke fun at or disagree with, right? And we'll find continuously off-season lists throughout the year that we can poke fun at and look at and disagree with and break down in way too much detail than any normal human being would in the college football list in the middle of February. But he actually spoke yesterday because now he can talk about the signees of the transfer portal players, and the vague welcome home tweets can now become thought out responses to questions asked to him about these players. And one of the big things this offseason, I think that was a emphasis, right, was finding leadership where you might not have had it in last year's group, right? Not to say you just didn't have it, but you didn't have it the same way you did in 2024. I think we can look at the differences between the 24 season and the 25 season, and you look at the lack of a Demetrius Knight or a Kyle Kennard, right? Those are two guys that played a lot of college football at other places, but came in and immediately filled voids on the field and in locker room leadership too. It was a really mature group that was an old group, right? I think a lot of the transfer portal guys you got this past year going into 25, while a lot of them talented, maybe not as seasoned, right? You look at a Sean Murphy, who didn't get on the field a lot at Alabama, only got on the field 4 games at Florida State because of injuries, but got a little better as the season went on, and he was able to play. Or a Justin Okoronkwo, who recently transferred because he wasn't getting on the field at Alabama and was able to get a really good role here. But when you're not as seasoned, you're probably not as comfortable jumping right into a leadership position, right?
Correct.
I think that's human nature. I think it's rare when you see somebody who's maybe like 20, 21 years old, or even younger than that, transferring somewhere else and immediately feeling comfortable taking over as a real vocal part of that team.
Yeah, also when you're not seasoned and you're not and you're not necessarily confident in what you're doing as far as playing and counting statistics.
Yeah.
And that's a huge part of leadership. Like, if you haven't been here for a while, you need to be showing something on the field as to why we're going to follow you.
Yeah, like, oh, look what I did at this last place.
Yeah, and so that is a huge part of the leadership component.
Demetrius Knight could say, hey, you've ever heard of Talia Tungavailoa, the all-time passing yards leader in the Big Ten? I picked him off for a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Strange fun fact, though. It'll never, like, it seems so weird to me that guy threw more passing yards in the Big Ten than any other player in the history of that league.
Footnote.
Remember who he beat out for that?
No.
That'd be Curtis Painter.
I don't. Well, that actually, I kind of
Curtis Painter was the Big Ten all-time passing leader until that.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Just some fun random college football trivia if we need to scratch the itch for anybody this morning. But Shane spoke yesterday, and one of the things that I wanted to talk about today from what he discussed was that leadership element and looking for better leadership, because I've always been fascinated as to how one finds that in the transfer portal, because it's almost like speed dating, right? The transfer portal is not necessarily maybe like what you would be doing on an app like Hinge, where maybe you message somebody back and forth for a little bit. You're courting around a bunch of other people, but you're setting up, longer dates. This is like speed dating.
Okay.
Because you have just like a shorter window, right? This is asking to commit to somebody in the course of a couple days, not over the course of weeks, dates, messages, anything like that. This feels more like speed dating than anything else. But sometimes when you're in that process, it can be hard to get a beat on who somebody is in terms of the things that you can't measure, right? You can see on their profile that they run a really good 40 or that they were really productive at a certain place. But what you don't see, and maybe what you can't necessarily get the full picture of in a short amount of time, is how great are they in a locker room? What's the leadership quality like? So Shane talked about it yesterday in terms of what he's looking for, or at least the process of looking for better leadership for this season's team. And this will be cut 8, Jen. This is what Shane had to say in regards to looking for better leadership.
For sure. I think, you look at, guys that we've brought in from the portal that were later named captain, Spencer Rattler, Demetrius Knight, Torricelli Simpkins, Nick Gargiulo, just thinking off the top of my head the last few years, those are all guys that came in and spent basically 1 year in our program, and their teammates respected them enough to say that they need to be a permanent captain and they represent what we're about, and they're the leaders of this team, and wanted to try and do that as much as we could. Like any school, when a guy goes in the portal, we talk to a lot of people at that school. Some of them guys like that we have here, guys like, Kelby and Jordan, those are guys that we recruited, Jaden, guys that we recruited out of high school that we know what kind of people they are. And then you also reach out to the schools they're coming from. And, it's we don't just watch the tape. We reach out to the people at the school and find out as much as we can about them. The trainer talking to the trainer, and the equipment guy talking to the equipment guy, and the head coach talking to the head coach, or whatever it might be, just to make sure we're bringing in the right people. And it was very, evident that we brought in a lot of guys that either were captain type guys at their school or have those leadership qualities. And I'm seeing that already just in, the first few weeks of workouts, guys that are, willing to speak up and lead.
That's a plus, seeing that already. But the due diligence required to find that, to me, is always what is so fascinating about this entire process. Is you have a small amount of time, especially with this year's team in particular, where there are so many spots you had to fill. The offensive line room, you felt like you had to do completely, especially when Josiah Thompson told you who's going to enter the transfer portal. And that's a whole other discussion that we'll have in terms of the process of bringing Josiah back and maybe not accepting others. But when it comes to having a short amount of time to get a high volume of guys, and you want to get quality and quantity, the amount of due diligence it requires to be able to find those is one of the more difficult elements of a job like this.
Yeah, and I love the way that you said it's like a job. Because all Shane did was just say, I'm going to go check his references.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go check his references. I'm looking at his references. I'm going to talk to his head coach. I'm going to talk to his position coach. But then I need to talk to other people in the building. I need to see how he handles the equipment guy. Right? Is he a jerk to him? I need to see how he talks to the nutritionist. Does he handle himself in the right way around the building? Those are all the things you want to try and figure out about a person before you bring them to your building. But you still got to see how they interact with your team. Because I'm going to be honest, man, if I've been on the team this is all good. If I've been on the team for 3 years and then you just come waltzing in, talk about, let's get it together, guys. We ain't having this no more. I'm like, hold up, bruh.
Especially if you're not fun to hang out with.
Who are you?
Outside of that.
Yeah, so there's a delicate balance of like, you can't just walk in this locker room and act like you've run this thing when other people are there. Or maybe you can, because maybe there is no leadership. And maybe we're looking for we need a leader. We need a hero. Maybe that's how it works. I don't know. I do think it's a delicate balance of just coming in and saying, y'all terrible, man. I'm here. We go
Clean up crew here.
You know what I'm saying? So it is a lot of delicacies of how that works. But that's how you put a team together every single year. And no team is the same. Every team is different, regardless of if you're bringing guys in and out. There's always changing dynamics within a locker room.
One of the wildest like dichotomies too, to me, is the person who is like the leader, but maybe doesn't understand the importance of being a good hang.
Yeah.
Because if you're gonna bust my ass in a weight room, you know, or at halftime of a game, I better respect you well enough off the field too, right? We don't have to be friends, but I gotta at least see you as an admirable person. I have been on teams where one of the more vocal players is somebody that nobody wanted to hang out with. Nobody liked them off the floor. So it would go one ear out the other, and it's just so-and-so being so-and-so.
I think that's the easy, let's bring the Super Bowl in. That's the Russell Wilson conversation.
Russell Wilson may be the most, like, the poster boy for this.
Poster boy of it, right? The guy that is everything you would want. If Shane Beamer was going through that conversation with Russell Wilson, great guy, check. Does his Bible study, check. Is in the weight room, check. Awesome dude, check. And then you would ask his teammates, be like, man, I don't know about that dude, man. All right, man, whatever. He's a good quarterback, cool, but do we want to hang with him? No. We don't. Does he want to hang with us? No. So there's a disconnect there. The best quarterbacks, and the quarterback is a really interesting position because you have to have this situation where obviously we're looking to you for leadership, but you still have to be of the people. Like, yes. You need to be able to come hang with us. Now, I don't need you to do everything that we're doing.
Yeah, you don't have to be our best friend, right?
But you got to come, you got to come and have a drink with us.
Yes.
Don't have the 10 drinks that we're going to have because we need you to be responsible. But you got to come and have a drink with us.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And that's sort of how leadership in those situations work. And they have to be able to find those. And what's really interesting to me about modern college athletics is that has to be created so quickly. Yeah. And the players have to get used to that.
Because that type of thing's really organic. Or it works best when it's organic and not forced. Kind of like Russell Wilson's leadership. How much of that seemed forced with him, right? It almost felt like he would do that stuff because it's what a quarterback is supposed to do. Now,
I read in the quarterback manual, this is what I'm supposed to say right here.
Which is correct. However, your teammates will find it inauthentic.
Incredibly annoying also.
Especially when you go to Denver and you have your own office and you tell your teammates that you have an open door policy for your office. Nothing says I am just like you guys other than I have my own office and you guys can come by anytime. Oh, that's great, Russell. I'm glad you're not going to be in a meeting whenever I want to talk to you about the game plan.
It is a very inexact science of how you create chemistry in a locker room.
Yes.
But you have to do it, and you have to have somebody that everybody can point to and say, they're the leader, they're the guy that we want to follow. And so, yeah, I know that is a priority that you try and get in the transfer portal, but you never know.
It's certainly not a one-size-fits-all thing, and that's why it makes identifying it so hard. Like, I feel like I know what it looks like, but I can't describe it as well as I can tell you what it doesn't look like and can give you plenty of examples as to what it doesn't look like. And having to find that within the course of a couple weeks is really difficult, considering how many times, have you been friends with somebody or dated somebody where you didn't find the real them until months into that relationship. I think anybody can relate to knowing somebody, whether it be like platonic or romantic, where you get to a certain point and it's like, no, you haven't been like that the entire time. Folks can be duped. And I think a lot of us speak from experience there. But coming up next, what is that process like in terms of building a roster in less than a month? Well, Shane gives his recollections and shares a little bit with how they do things inside that building in a really chaotic time of the calendar. We'll hear from Shane and discuss that coming up next here in the early game.
All my sports. The Game Network. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 96.9 The Game in Charleston. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. And 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Go to 1075thegame.com and check out this sweet deal. $50 to spend at Jay's Corner for only $12.50. Just click on Sweet Deals. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Herndon Chevrolet is your hometown dealer. Stop by today or shop online 24/7 at HerndonChevy.com.
Join Gamecock fans of all ages on Saturday, April 25th as you run, walk, or jog through Gamecock Park and the indoor and outdoor football practice fields for this year's Cocky Trot 5K and Fun Run and Walk. It's fun for the whole family, so don't miss out. Registration includes a commemorative race shirt and medal and access to purchase discounted football and baseball tickets. Register today at GamecocksOnline.com/CockyTrot. That's GamecocksOnline.com/CockyTrot.
Hey, this is Paul Romanstein, proud owner of Midlands Landscape and Lawns. Good news, we now have a retail location, 1612 North Lake Drive in Lexington, near the dam. Come by and see us, and we can help you now with a do-it-yourself, or we can do it for you. We offer mulch, pine straw, rock, palm trees, you name it, we got it. If you've got a project that you need help with supplies, come see us. If you got a project that you need us to do for you, check us out at MidlandsLandscape.com.
Currently car shopping? State Credit Union now has auto loan rates as low as 4.25% APR. Plus, you'll have no car payment for up to 90 days. Visit one of State Credit Union's 19 full-service branches or their website, SCSCU.com. That's SCSCU.com and apply online for your new car loan today. That's SCSCU.com. Terms and conditions apply. Equal housing lender. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Last year, we had 295 trials where we'd been offered a total of $90 million on all those cases. When the dust settled, we had recovered over $1.1 billion in verdicts and mid-trial settlements. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. We became America's largest injury firm for a reason. We won a lot, $30 billion and counting. The best part of all those wins is that it helps you when you hire us. All those wins allow us to let the insurance company know we mean business. And believe me, they know who we are. If you've been injured, Google Morgan & Morgan results. You're not bragging if it's a fact. 3 million people tried to hire us last year alone. That happened for a reason. Visit forthepeople.com and let's get started this minute. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
Joe Standifer, Esquire, 11915 Plaza Drive, Suite 301, Burroughs Inlet, South Carolina, 29576.
Looking for a dealership that treats you like family? Come to Herndon Chevrolet, where we've been proudly serving Lexington and the Midlands for over 50 years. Whether you're shopping for a new or pre-owned vehicle or just need expert service, you'll find it all right here. Shop online anytime at HerndonChevy.com or stop by and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
Herndon Chevrolet, Herndon makes you wanna smile, smile.
Texting enrolls you in recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season.
I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think it could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
I was feeling the same way. After 40, the body has less testosterone, and men lose their edge. That's why I take Nugenix Total T2.
That's the testosterone booster, right?
Yes, but Total T2 is their brand new formula that skyrockets nitric oxide levels in as little as 3 hours. Since I started taking it, I've been lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. My energy is way up, and it even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles?
Yep, just send a text.
Text HIM to 215-215 for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T2, the next generation testosterone booster. Text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text HIM to 215-215. That's HIM to 215-215.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Paid for by Adaptive Health.
It's the Game Network Traffic Report.
Great news. No accidents to report right now. So enjoy that this morning on your Thursday. 41 and some clouds today. It's actually a little bit of wind. 57 tomorrow for the high. Overnight low of 35 and then mid-50s for the weekend. But starting off with some clouds this morning. It is kind of windy out there. 37 on 107.5 The Game.
Preston Thorne, Elijah Campbell, and Jen Jensen on the Game Network, 107.5 Game app, and at the Game TV radio on YouTube.
One of the hardest things about coaching college football in 2026 is, well, as soon as you get done with your season, and sometimes while you're still in the midst of your season, if you're fortunate enough to be a team in the playoff, or if you're fortunate enough to be playing in a nice bowl game where you're in the lovely state of Florida in late December, maybe early January, you have to kind of rebuild your roster and plug in the holes of what you are losing in that process. Or if you're a team like South Carolina, the millisecond clock hits 0 to go to 4-8, your whole offseason's ahead of you, you have to immediately look ahead to what is next. See who you can retain, who's coming back, and then use that information to fuel how you attack the transfer portal in the entire free agency period we essentially have in college football to build the rest of the roster. Oh, yeah. The portal's only open for like 2 weeks, and it's not open for a certain amount of time. You still have to wait late in the month for it to be able to open, and then you have to be able to get guys on campus, thoroughly vet everybody you want to bring in, and try to build the best roster you can in what is a pivotal season for you coming up the next year.
Right, because we would only wait for the portal to officially open before we talk to anybody, right? We would never. We would only follow the rules strictly and never have any contact with anybody before the portal officially opened, because we are rule followers.
Of course not. Yeah,
we beg for the rules and we follow them.
Like everybody else.
That's right. We all follow the rules around here.
Everybody's a rule follower here in this room, right? No, we would never condone.
This league, rule followers.
Historically have been never an instance of not following the rules or trying to curtail the rules. But overall, it is a pretty hectic process.
Yes.
And one thing I think you really need to know going into this as a head coach is the what you are looking for. I don't envy first-time coaches or somebody like Shane Beamer was when he first started, because maybe you don't exactly know what you are looking for as the head coach, right? When you are an assistant, it's a little different, but when you're the head coach, there's probably a longer list of things that you are looking for in terms of who it is you want to bring in, and finding those guys, identifying those certain traits, and then getting them on campus and doing the whole recruiting pitch and getting them to where they are intrigued enough to want to play for you the next season is a whole other thing. But identifying what it is that you want in players sometimes might take a few years to be able to develop that sort of process, right?
Yeah, you have to know what you want when you go to the grocery store. We've all done this situation where you go to the grocery store, you spend $70, and you look around, it's like, I don't have a meal here.
I was not very efficient with this, and I spent way too much money.
I just have stuff.
The worst feeling is going into a store, not having a list, and you're just sitting there just like, finger in my nose, I don't know what I'm doing. This looks good.
Yeah, and you just, $100 later, you're like, I don't have anything, right? So, yes, you with experience, you get a list together, you know what you want. I'm going to make this meal, I need this. This can stretch over a couple meals. Same situation I would think with the transfer portal. Like, you can just go in there and get players based on stars or rankings or guys I used to know. But as you develop experience, you start to figure out, okay, we need this type of player. And especially, and this is why it was so important to hire Kendall Briles at an early spot. We have an offensive identity. We need to shop towards that identity now. We need to get guys that fit in this scheme. And so I think that's extremely important.
So here's what Shane Beamer was talking about yesterday in terms of what exactly is it he's looking for when it comes to these portal acquisitions.
Yeah, to me, guys, and I told most of them on the visit, if you love, I think I said it in one of the things we put out on social media, you see me say it in that team meeting room next door, but guys that love football, love to compete, and don't have entitlement. If you love football, come. If that's what we were looking for. If you love to compete, come on. That's what we were looking for. If you have entitlement, don't come. This isn't the place for you. And found a lot of guys like that. But start with those three qualities. Obviously, the talent, you got to be able to be good enough to play here. But you watch the tape, and then you dig into that stuff, just like the current guys on our team, guys that love football, love to compete, and are just hungry and don't think anything's going to be given to them because they came here from school X, or they're getting paid this amount of money, or you are all whatever at the school you came from. That's great. That's all in the past. Everybody's here now. Everybody's part of the 2026 team, and let's get ready to go compete and see how good we can be.
The first thing, obviously, talent.
Yes, first. Coach, I love football.
I can't play. I love football. Sorry, son.
I'm 5'7". I run a 5'1", but I love football.
Oh, that's great. We have some. We might have an equipment manager.
Right. So talent's one. Cool. We got that out the way. My question is, how do you find that out? Who's walking into an interview or during this process and being like, I take it or leave it?
Right. Yeah. At that point, you don't even want to bring them in. It has to be, I would say, between head coach and whatever position that player plays, that position coach saying, yeah, we both agree this guy can play. And we have to bring them in, right? I think the one thing there that has the most value to it, and I would not have thought this 10 or 11 or 12 years ago, was like the whole loving football thing, because that sounds obvious, right? Like a duh. But I think, because mostly from what I've heard Shane before, not just in that specific clip, but from when Jay and I would have him on and hearing him talk about it, there's a difference between really liking it and loving it to know all of its intricate details, right? Like you loved it well enough to when you stopped playing, you coached it. There are a lot of people that when it's all said and done will not crave it anymore. And when I was, playing the sport I was playing, I loved it. I didn't realize how much more I could have loved it to understand all of the aspects of the game outside of just playing it, right? Like I saw a video clip this week of Brandon Ingram talking about, like when I was a kid, I just watched basketball all the time. And I learned so much from just watching it because I loved the sport that much. I learned more about it, and that knowledge carried me, no matter how much my talent was, basically saying like that carried me to get me to where I am today.
Mm-hmm.
You got to love football enough to be able to watch it all the time, to be able to constantly try to learn more about it. Like, it's like a school subject, not just something that you're doing physically.
Because the thing about football is most of it sucks. Like, it's the only sport where you practice more than you play. It's the only sport where you have to watch this ungodly amount of film for a very short amount of actual action in a game. It's the only sport where you have to do all that. So it's kind of not great most of the time, except for the times when it is great, and then it's awesome. And so you got to be able to try and figure out, like, do you really want to do this for this amount of, do you really want to go through winter workouts, spring practice, summer, all of that stuff? Now, that has been changed a little bit because you can look in your bank account and say, yeah, maybe I'll do that. But there was a time where you was just straight broke. You had to figure out, look yourself in the mirror like, do you want to do this? Because I don't know. This kind of sucks. It's 5:30 in the morning. I'm doing winter workouts. It's cold. Do I really love football? And you have to ask yourself and answer that question over and over again. So, yeah, that is still extremely important.
It reminds me of one of my favorite stories from the NBA's bubble, whenever they went in 2020 to finish out their season. And I think it was Mason Plumlee, who was playing for the Nets at the time. Someone reported that, they're in the elevators, and part of this long story about what it's like in that bubble. And he's getting up early to go to practice or going down the elevator, and you can hear him under his breath go, I love basketball. I love basketball. I want to be here. I love basketball. Like,
I get it.
You have to have a lot of that in you, too. That's something I might not have realized a decade ago. Certainly do now. That's certainly something that you have to have whenever you're bringing guys in from the portal to maximize whatever their talents are. But coming up next, when it comes to roster construction, I think we all agreed that objective number one was to fix the offensive line. How did Shane and company go about doing that? Well, he talked about it yesterday, and we'll hear from him and break that down next.
Wow, what a play. The Game Network. Columbia, Charleston, Florence, and Myrtle Beach.
Everybody loves streaming till you have to pay for it. Just download the 107.5 The Game app and stream us for free.
It's Jen for CHW Cabinetry in Lexington. Had such a great experience with them when they had to redo our kitchen because of a flood. And it was such a great experience that when we went to update a couple of bathrooms, there was only one place we were going to call, and that was CHW Cabinetry. And they took care of the cabinet needs for each of those bathrooms. And everything has a warranty to it. And if you have an issue, they are right there on it. We actually had something that happened to a bracket. Nothing major, but they're actually coming out today. It was an easy process. They take care of their customers. And I'm telling you, if you're wanting to make any changes in your house, you want to update your closet, maybe you want to update your pantry, make a home office workspace, so many ways that you can use their services. Check out all they can do for you at chwcabinetry.com or call them today at 803-520-6837. Tell them Jen sent you. CHW Cabinetry, passion from inspiration to installation.
Sponsored by King's Hawaiian Sliders. Nothing brings friends and family together on game day like delicious King's Hawaiian Sliders. Bring them to the big game table and be the real MVP. Pick some up this weekend in the bakery or deli section of your local store. Football and King's Irresistible Hawaiian Sliders. There's nothing like it.
Having a life scholarship and being able to afford to go to college made me feel inspired to go.
When I got a life scholarship, it was such a relief.
I knew that I wanted to have an impact. Having a life scholarship through the SC Education Lottery was huge. It gave me the opportunity to make that impact right here at home.
The South Carolina Education Lottery. A better you, a better us, a better South Carolina. Visit sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
We know what it's like when you're injured. You hurt, you can't work, you can't pay your bills, and the insurance company won't return your calls. I'm Jason Reynolds. At the Samuels Reynolds Law Firm, we're here for you when things go bad. We're local, resourceful, and have a proven record of success.
I'm Stephen Samuels. Our team is big enough to handle any case and small enough to care about each one.
We get South Carolina because we're true South Carolina. Samuels Reynolds. True injuries, true lawyers. 803-779-4000.
This is Larry Leitner, owner and founder of Midstate Roofing, and for nearly 30 years, we've continued to be the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. Midstate Roofing's proven history is your assurance that our professionals at Midstate Roofing will provide the proper advice, service, and results to the needs of your facility in a manner both safe and pleasing to your operation. From high-rise to hospitals, manufacturing to industrial, Midstate Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that will keep your operation dry and running long into the future. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And this is Blake Leitner, reminding you to protect that roof with a maintenance contract. Call me today at 803-356-1919 or online at midstateroofing.com. That's midstateroofing.com.
You'll speak to an on-call technician after hours or a Midstate Roofing staff member during hours at 803-356-1919 or online at midstateroofing.com. And as always, tell them Midstate Twins.
If you have a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek.
Finding excuses to not do your taxes? Unsure where to start? Sounds like you may be suffering from FOMO, the fear of messing up. The cure? Filing your federal and state taxes for free using TurboTax on Credit Karma. All you have to do is start and finish filing on your own in the Credit Karma app by February 28th. Just keep in mind, this offer is available only if you didn't file with TurboTax last year. It's time to break free from your fear of messing up. Start filing for free today in the Credit Karma app.
Average Owls. Our chairs sit, our tables stand.
You're not average. Your marketing results shouldn't be either. Cumulus Digital outperforms industry benchmarks by over 25%. See what Smarter Digital can do for you at cumulusdigital.com.
Powered by Integrated Media. The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. For auto, home, and commercial glass. ShepherdsGlass.com. In Chapin and West Columbia. The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. Shepherd's Glass. It's the Game Network Traffic Report.
After some busy mornings we've had recently, we'll enjoy the fact that there aren't any accidents to report right now. And weather-wise, a little bit cooler today for sure. 41, going to be a little bit windy. Overnight low of 28. Tomorrow, much nicer. Sunny, 57. Saturday, 53. And on Sunday, it's going to be sunny and 50. So great day for big game activities. And next week, man, we're going to be in the 60s. So looking forward to that, but kind of breezy currently and 37.
The Early Game. With former Gamecock Preston Thorne, Elijah Campbell, and Jen Jensen. On the Game Network, 107.5 Game app, and the Game TV radio on YouTube.
Anybody who watched or kept up with, loved South Carolina football in 2025, I think you could identify one position group that needed the most help. That would be the offensive line.
Clearly.
If you haven't, if this is the first day you have listened to the show, this is new information for you. If this is not the first day you've listened to the show and you've been listening to us since we formed back in July and we went through the entire football season together and you decided to create a drinking game, which don't do that in the morning. That's maybe a little problematic. But if you decided to do that, and you took a shot for every time we mentioned the offensive line, you would not be listening to the show right now because you'd be deceased.
If you took a drink for every time the center jumped off sides, you'd be in the clink.
Yeah. Oh, buddy. Yeah. Hope you don't leave the house because the millisecond you step foot outside of your property, you would be.
Yes, I said the center jumping off sides. Yes, I said.
That is something that happened a lot last year. That is something that should never happen for anybody. So the offensive line is clearly the first thing that needed to be fixed. And I think if you could have polled every single South Carolina Gamecock fan, and if you had told them what all you're getting back in terms of Lenoris coming back, Nick Harbor coming back, Dylan Stewart coming back, you'd say, great, but we need to shore up that offensive line or else none of that matters when it pertains to having those three players return. So that was objective number one, seemingly, for this coaching staff once they assembled the coaching staff on offense. So what was it like to get these offensive linemen and defensive linemen too? Winning the games in the trenches is really important on both sides, but what does Shane think about those additions on the offensive and defensive lines? This will be cut 13, Jen.
I like, for sure. I mean, it's a lot of guys that we signed on the offensive line and can talk about all of them, but, they play with an edge. They're older guys. They've got a lot of production. They've been part of, winning programs, athletic. It's a pretty cool mentality in that offensive line room right now with that group of guys and how they're approaching their work day in, day out. So we wanted to, we needed to find interior guys. We needed to find tackles on the outside. That's what we went into the portal looking to do, and that's what we've been able to do. And a bunch of guys that have come in here either from, higher levels that have played Power 4 football, some guys that have come in here from lower levels, but really talented guys we feel like that have a really strong work ethic and a hunger to just prove it and get better. And then same thing with the defensive tackle position. I mean, all three of those guys, Jordan, Kelby, and Tomiwa, we recruited them all out of high school, so we were familiar with them already from the recruiting process, so we didn't have to learn a whole lot about them. And then, they're athletic and they've been around college football for a minute. It's not new to them, and they've increased the depth in that room and the athleticism in that room already, along with the offensive linemen, because we brought back some really talented guys too, Shed and Marquis and Josiah and the people that have been in the program for a little bit too, to go along with what those guys are doing. Nolan Hay, other guys that return.
One thing that helps, previous relationships. And I think that's one important, maybe overlooked sometimes when it comes to bringing in transfer portal guys, because it can feel like bringing in a lot of strangers. But if you already have a good relationship. Now, part of recruiting now is not just maintaining the relationship with the players that you bring in, but it's maintaining the relationships with the players that you don't initially bring in, because they can always come back around eventually.
Right. Don't burn those bridges. Again, it feels like we're learning a lot about the real world through these processes. So when we talk about, they're not teaching things, well, they are learning a lot, because you don't want to burn bridges. A lot of times you might get your next job from your last job, or some of these are all these types of things that they're happening. And it's really interesting to hear Shane say that, because the most interesting part to me is that this is a new room. It's not just the guys that are, it's a new coach. Everything, they needed to take the posters down, repaint the walls. Everything is new about this. We're not doing the same things that we did last year, because last year did not work. Matter of fact, the last 2 years did not work. So you bring in new guys, and so the first thing he said was they play with an edge, and that is something we had not seen from the previous group of linemen, nor that representation. So that's what I'll be interested to see. Do you have these dudes that are playing with a discernible edge that you see with the offensive linemen?
Glad you mentioned that too, because offensive line, I feel like, is one of those positions where you maybe have to have a perfect combination of having a screw loose when it comes to run blocking, right? You have to go out there in space and run with, a violent mentality to run somebody over and clear a pathway for a running back. But when it comes to pass protection, you have to be quite literally in a protective mode, right? Like, maybe the closest thing to being a knight in sports is being an offensive lineman, because the king's back there in the backfield and you can't let any of the invaders get back there and get them. And you have to be in a protective mindset while also kind of being smart about it, not holding, while also having to be communicative whenever there's twists and stunts and things like that. There's a balance between having a screw loose while also being composed enough to be able to handle anything that said invaders throw at you.
And also to the offensive line part, the athleticism part. Oh yeah, you're doing all that while going backwards. Right. You have to do all that kick stepping backwards while some freak athlete is here doing his best one-on-one moves against you. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, but I think the first part starts with the mentality of, like, we want to do these things. We want to move people off the ball. We want to protect the quarterback. We did not have those in the previous, or maybe they had them, they just didn't show up, but whatever, the results didn't show it.
It didn't translate to the field if they had it.
So whatever they had, it didn't work. And so with a new coach, new players coming in, you expect to see new results from the offensive line.
One thing, and I'm trying to find the tweaks. I did see something yesterday, and it was from Chris Marler, who he quote tweeted it, right? And it was somebody who does a lot of analytics when it comes to, like, returning production, right? They had pretty much, they're returning production at every single position group. And while it isn't exactly returning production, but at least because it takes into account players that are coming in, it's from Dog Stats. And it goes overall returning production, but it accounts for the transfers that you bring in. So just what's the experience level of people on your team? And they do it with just raw snaps. And if you look at who is number one in college football when it comes to returning number of snaps on the offensive line, South Carolina has over 10,000 career snaps on that offensive line.
Okay.
And that's players that are coming back and those that you're bringing in the transfer portal. Does that help if they have that edge? If they showed you that you can play, which talent was the number one thing that Shane mentioned when it comes to what he looks for in these players. If they have that love for football and an ability to be coachable and develop, and there is no, what he said, entitlement, then there is going to be improvement that is made. Now, we have to see the hard part get done, which is applying it to the football field, because I don't think anybody had a problem with the level of talent in terms of what you were in high school with a lot of the players that were on the offensive line last year, but it didn't translate to things that really mattered. Does the 10,000 plus snaps in one's career, or in totality, and having the edge and having the talent that you can see on film, will that translate to the field this fall is the number one question with this program. Right?
Yeah, that's a huge question. That's it. 10,000 snaps later, I don't want to see some of the silly mistakes that you see with younger offensive linemen.
Yeah.
I think that leads to more accountability. There's less room for error. If you already played 10,000 snaps, we shouldn't be going over some of these elementary basic things.
We shouldn't be false starting as the center.
There you go.
Hopefully, if anything, eliminate that sort of thing right there. But coming up next, tanking is a thing in pro sports, but maybe there's one way a college team can do it, and there's a fan from an SEC school that may or may not have suggested it for their school. Is it an idea so crazy that it just might work? Or is it a village idiot making themselves look like a village idiot? Well, we'll discuss that idea coming up next here in the early game.
All my sports. The Game Network. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 96.9 The Game in Charleston. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. And 100.5 The Game in Florence.
This hour of in-show listening on 107.5 The Game is sponsored by QC Kinetics in West Columbia, the non-surgical regenerative orthopedic specialists of the Midlands. Request your consultation today at qckinetics.com.
This is a Westwood One Sports Minute.
The Washington Wizards made as good of a trade as you can on Wednesday. The team is acquiring Mavericks forward Anthony Davis for next to nothing. It's a perfect high-reward, low-risk trade. They don't give up any of their young pieces. The only first-round picks they give don't belong to them, and they're at the end of the first round. They now pair Davis with Trae Young, a bunch of young pieces, and in a perfect world, a top 3 pick. That's a great day for DC. I'm Denton Day.
When I wake up,
the best mornings
in the morning light,
start with Wrangler.
I pull on my jeans and I feel alright.
Jeans, jackets, and shirts that get your day started. Good mornings make for better days. Wrangler, for the ride of life.
This is the story of the one. As an HVAC technician, he and his digital multimeter are in high demand. So when a noisy office HVAC turns out to be a failing blower motor, he doesn't break a sweat. With Grainger's easy-to-use website and product information, he selects the product he needs to keep everything humming right along. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
When I wake up,
the best mornings
in the morning light,
start with Wrangler.
I pull on my jeans and I feel alright.
Jeans, jackets, and shirts that get your day started. Good mornings make for better days. Wrangler, for the ride of life.
Do you have sagging, soft, or bouncy floors in your home? Well, this could be a sign of rotten wood caused by moisture in your crawl space. Damaged wood in your crawl space can affect your home's foundation, and that can affect your home's value, and nobody wants that. Say goodbye to sagging floors and hello to a stable foundation. Contact Canty today for your free inspection at 803-424-8380 or visit cantycanfixit.com.
Never have I ever called my sister from the finish line of my first marathon.
Hello?
You won't believe where I am.
Are you running?
Mile 26. I'm gonna make it.
Switch to T-Mobile's 55 Plus plan and get iPhone 16e with its advanced camera system on up. Plus 2 lines for just $30 a line.
Guys, I can't believe it.
I knew you could do it, babe.
That was amazing.
Mom, how do you feel?
I feel great. I can't feel my feet. Let's take a picture, and then you may carry me to the car.
Share every stride, every mile, every memory on America's best network. Switch to T-Mobile's 55 Plus plan and get iPhone 16e on us and 2 lines for just $30 a line.
With 24 monthly bill credits and 2 eligible port-ins on Essentials 55 Plus for well-qualified customers with autopay plus taxes, fees, and $35 device connection charge. Credits end and balance due if you pay off early or cancel. Contact us. Finance agreement 128 gigabytes, $599.99 required. Best mobile network in the U.S. based on analysis by Ookla of Speed Test Intelligence data 1H 2025. Visit T-Mobile.com.
Some gifts are worn, others are remembered. At Traditions Fine Jewelers, start a story with a free sterling silver charm bracelet when you purchase $60 in sterling silver charms. Each charm captures a memory, a place you've been, a person you love, a moment you never want to forget. Because every bracelet is as unique as the life behind it. With hundreds of charms to choose from, now's the perfect time to begin a keepsake or an heirloom. The free charm bracelet giveaway is happening now at Traditions Fine Jewelers in Sand Hills and in Lexington, while supplies last.
The early game with former Gamecock Preston Thorne, Elijah Campbell, and Jen Jensen on the Game Network, 107.5 Game app, and at the Game TV radio on YouTube.
In pro sports all the time, teams will, I don't want to say lose on purpose, because the players aren't trying to lose the game. Oftentimes, players are trying their best to win and look good and be able to get another contract and stay in whatever league it is for as long as possible, whether it is the NFL, the MLB, NBA. NHL, you name it. But you watch pro sports long enough, you will see tanking and know it when you see it, right? Team trades their best player for a lot of draft picks. The front office isn't trying to win. That's never been the case in college because there's no draft in college. So there's really never been no incentive to lose on purpose. But this is older. This was back in like January 9th, right? A message board geniuses find. But my man Parker Fleming at Stats of War said, hold on a minute now. Let's hear him out. This is a Mississippi State fan that says, realistic idea for state to make the college football playoff. Let's hear him out. It's no secret we don't have the NIL money to compete year in, year out. So why don't we basically go ahead and make it clear that we are tanking and paying $0 for the next, say, 3 years? Nothing but guys willing to play for a Scully or as a walk-on. And we have 3 or 4 years worth of stockpiled NIL money and make it clear that in 2028, we are coming for every top-tier transfer in the portal and bringing a bag with us. Have all the big targets saying, I don't know where I'll be next year, but in 2028, I want MSU throwing a bag at me and being a part of their title contender team. Because we can turn a roster over in one offseason easily, especially with a ton of cash. Why not play for 1 or 2 magical seasons every decade? Better than what we have now. Many will laugh, but why am I wrong? Work smarter since we can't pay the big bucks to keep up on a yearly basis. Roast me. Should we roast him, or did he cook? Is he cooked, or did he cook? Preston Thorne.
He's a dork. I know that. I don't know whether he's cooking or cooking. I can't validate the idea. But the concept, what's always so interesting about these types of ideas is that, again, they take the human element and throw it out the window. And it's all just spreadsheets and numbers and crunching. And if we just throw the bag at them, there's no guarantee that it's going to happen. Even if you did this, hey, there is this place. It's called The Process in the NBA. They've tried it. Didn't work, and they had a great player, an MVP player, still didn't work. So I'm not sure why you think it's going to work in Stark Vegas. Good luck. And also good luck getting those people for the next 3 years to watch a team go out there and get their head beat in. That's going to not be a lot of fun.
That's not going to be a lot of fun. And maybe you don't get to stockpile the cash because it's going to be really hard to get people to donate when you're 1-11, right?
No, just hear us out. I'm telling you, the next 3 years, it's going to be great.
This money you give us, we're not going to spend for a couple of years, but we're going to use it for one magical season. My thing is, to me, it's not as crazy, but you got to know what you're doing for whatever year you spend up for. And I think the perfect example is the one that you used, right? The Philadelphia 76ers, The Process, where Sam Hinkie, who essentially died for the sins of the Philadelphia 76er fans, did not try to win for a couple years. They said if we stockpile picks and we get high-end lottery picks, then we can pull this off. But here's the thing. You pull it off if you draft well. Joel Embiid worked in theory. He did end up winning an MVP. But also a lot of the other guys that you got in there, Markelle Fultz, you never got any potential out of. Ben Simmons forgot how to play basketball after a little bit. There was maybe some mental stuff there that you probably could have identified in the draft process because they passed up on Markelle Fultz. They got Markelle Fultz and passed up someone like Jason Tatum. When it came to Ben Simmons, there were a couple other players he probably could have gotten. You have to draft correctly. And in this instance, you can maybe stockpile all of your funds for 3 years. But then when you get in the transfer portal, you have to do it correctly. How many times do we see transfer portal flops? It's not necessarily the draft in the manner of having an order and one team pick, then the next team pick, and you can trade up to get a higher pick and then get more picks in return if you give up your high pick. It doesn't work that way. It's all on you to talent evaluate, be aggressive with your pitch, and you know what? It's probably going to take more money to get somebody to go to Stark Vegas than it is for them to go to Columbus, Ohio. Or go play for Kirby Smart at Georgia. Or if Lincoln Riley wants them to play in beautiful Los Angeles, California, it's an easier sales pitch than spending your fall in Starkville, Mississippi. It's a little more than just money. Would somebody be good enough to evaluate like that? Because they are probably looking at Indiana and saying, oh, well, Indiana, they'll have the funds now, but they rebuilt through the portal. Like that, Indiana did this Yes, but it's not as easy as just doing that, or else anybody would have been doing it by now.
Right.
That's the whole thing. Anybody could just be taking that and doing it. You have to be able to be really good at it. Like, it takes a lot of chops to be able to be that good of a talent evaluator to maybe find talent where other people might not look and get the right people in.
Mm-hmm. And also, you keep doing that, man, the SEC's going to be like, man, get out of here. You know what I'm saying?
Part of me wants somebody to try that just to see if it works.
Relegation.
I love a good guinea pig. If somebody wants to volunteer to be the guinea pig, please humor me. But coming up next, to kick off hour number 2, the Field of 68 did their basketball coaches poll, and I don't think it's going to be a surprise who we see at the top and the bottom. We'll discuss that next.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Herndon Chevrolet is your hometown dealer. Stop by today or shop online 24/7 at herndonchevy.com.
Have you been looking for a countertop for your kitchen or bath? Well, look no further. Just head to Carolina Stone Craftsman, just outside Columbia in Chapin. They get it. Those kitchen and bath projects can be a significant investment, but they do work hard to deliver the highest quality, most affordable granite, marble, and quartz while providing the best customer service. It's very simple. It's great countertops with no compromises. And I'm telling you, you need to check out their showroom. It is absolutely incredible. They also have an amazing outdoor showroom for you to see if you're looking to do any outdoor hardscaping. But when it came to the countertops that we needed in a couple of bathrooms, they were great. They helped us. We weren't sure what we needed, and they helped us in every step of the process. So I encourage you to reach out to Carolina Stone Craftsman. Be sure to tell them Jen sent you. They are family-owned and operated just beyond Columbia and Chapin, and I promise you, beyond your expectations. Visit them online, carolinastonecraftsman.com.
Sponsored by King's Hawaiian Sliders. Nothing brings friends and family together on game day like delicious King's Hawaiian Sliders. Bring them to the big game table and be the real MVP. Pick some up this weekend in the bakery or deli section of your local store. Football and King's Irresistible Hawaiian Sliders. There's nothing like it.
Do you have sagging, soft, or bouncy floors in your home? Well, this could be a sign of rotten wood caused by moisture in your crawl space. Damaged wood in your crawl space can affect your home's foundation, and that can affect your home's value, and nobody wants that. Say goodbye to sagging floors and hello to a stable foundation. Contact Canty today for your free inspection at 803-424-8380 or visit cantycanfixit.com.
Learning to drive, getting married, the birth of your children. These are the life-changing events you remember your whole life. I'm Jason Reynolds. A serious injury changes your life too, in a very different way.
I'm Stephen Samuels. At the Samuels Reynolds Law Firm, we get you. We can't erase the injury or change the past, but we can get you through the pain and anxiety and help you on to a brighter future.
We get South Carolina because we're true South Carolina. Samuels Reynolds. True injuries, true lawyers. 803-779-4000.
South Carolina Department of Corrections is hiring correctional officers statewide. Officers must be at least 18 years of age and have a high school diploma or GED. If you have correctional, police, security, or military experience, you can join their team at a promotional rank as a sergeant or lieutenant. Discover a rewarding correctional career with a room for long-term career advancement and a generous employee benefits package that cares for you and your family. Visit joinscdc.com to apply today. Sponsored by SC Department of Corrections, SCBA, and this station.
Hate paying for streaming? Well, the 107.5 The Game app is free. Yes, free. Just download the 107.5 The Game app. It's the Game Network Traffic Report.
I-20 eastbound before exit 44, there is a report of an accident there. Also, Two Notch Road at Park Lane, an accident. And as far as the weather goes, yep, going to be a little cooler than it was yesterday, but it'll be better tomorrow, so something to look forward to. 41 today with some clouds. Overnight low, kind of chilly, 28. And then Friday, 57. Saturday, 53. 50 for your Sunday before we then get into some 60s next weekend, or next week, I should say. Right now, a little bit breezy out there, and it's 37.
to sports. The Early Game with former Gamecock Preston Thorne, Elijah Campbell, and Jen Jensen on the Game Network, 107.5 Game app, and the Game TV radio on YouTube.
Hour number 2 of the Early Game starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. Cale Wilson hanging out with us here too, our resident Carolina Hurricanes fan. A little hockey talk in before the segment started. We have a lot to get into this hour, and we have some fun stuff to talk. We do have Super Bowl stuff to get to, like which quarterback-coach combo, what I call the Preston Thorne test. Which of these teams passes the Preston Thorne test?
Like it.
We'll get to that this hour. And for the morning meeting, we're going to draft. We drafted Super Bowl foods yesterday. Today, we will draft musicians or musical acts from both participating cities. This one's going to be a lot of fun.
Looking at my big board, man, and it's, we'll see.
If you're watching on the Game TV on YouTube and you're just looking at how I'm dressed or how I normally dress, like I am wearing flannel, right? I do have like the backwards hat. I think you can pick which city I'm going to favor a little bit. I think you can go out on a limb. Oh, shocker. Soundgarden's Elijah's favorite band.
Number 1 on the big board.
May or may not be number 1 on the big board right now. I will say for that. So that's fun. We'll get to that in the next segment. But we do have to address something that I knew was coming. I knew it was coming. It was an unstoppable wave. Anybody could clock it from a mile away, but now it's officially out because the Field of 68, it's a media company that's been covering college basketball for a little bit. It's Jeff Goodman's bunch. And they've been doing all year, conference by conference, polling coaches in the conference about which job is the best in your league. And when I saw them doing it for a lot of the mid-majors and then they got into the high majors, I was like, I wonder what South Carolina would be in the SEC. And I thought about it, and I said, well, my hypothesis is that they would be last. But really the question is, how big of a gap is it between them and their peers in the league? Well, yesterday it finally came out after we went off the air. The job rankings in the SEC. I don't even want to read through the entire list until we get to South Carolina, which is what I do sometimes, but I don't feel like reading off 15 names. So I'll fast forward to number 16, receiving 24 votes. And these are point totals, I guess. They do tier-leveled voting, which is the best way to do this sort of thing. South Carolina is last. They had 24 vote points, I guess, in this. Mississippi State is at 15 with 32, so that's really the closest you have. And then you go all the way up to 60, which is where 14 Oklahoma is. And to show you how far back they are from the top spot, Kentucky got all first-place votes, which was good for a grand total of a perfect 256. And to give you an idea of a school even like LSU, which is at 10, they had 110. Again, you were at 24. So what this tells me is not only is South Carolina viewed as the worst job in the SEC by other coaches in this league, it's the worst by a mile. The only competition for that last spot is Mississippi State. So now that leads us to this. We've already kind of preempted this discussion. You know, like if you ever watch the show Succession, Roman Roy says, I'm good for this funeral. I pre-grieved, right? I feel like I'm ready for this funeral because I pre-grieved. But now we can take a look at it that it's official what the other coaches in the SEC think and ask ourselves, how is it that you got to this spot to where the other coaches in your conference look at you as the most undesirable job?
Well, just in reading the article, the things that they said about the best jobs, they said there was 3 things they had in common. They had, number 1, money. Shocker.
That's why Texas is number 2 on this list. The only reason Texas is number 2 on this list.
They had money, they had resources, and they had fan support. We got 1 out of 3.
Yeah.
I can confidently say, based on the amount of calls that we got after a team gets blown out by 40 points and people are still engaged, I can confidently say there is fan support. Or at least there's a thirst for a good basketball team.
Do you think in this, like a similar show like this in Athens, Georgia, is getting a call like call volume like we did on some of the days after those losses?
That's a great comparison. I do not.
Or LSU?
No.
I don't think they really care that much. I don't think it would even be a blip on the radar. I think there still is such a thirst for this basketball team being good that whenever something like the Florida game happens, it still strikes a nerve with the fan base.
Yeah, and so if we was to take away what made the teams the top was money, then we could assume what made the team the bottom. It would be the same thing, right?
Especially knowing what we know in terms of where South Carolina ranks and the amount of money they put into their roster for 25-26. I think that I'm seeing a correlation here.
There is some sort of, I always get causation, correlation mixed up, but I don't know. Chicken or the egg? Are they last because they have no money, or do they have no money because they are last? I don't know. But we have to try and figure that thing out. But I would like to position this, though. I don't care.
Yeah.
Because guess what?
Figure that out.
The worst job in the SEC is still better than most jobs in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't want to hear people complaining about it's the worst job in the SEC. You're still in the SEC, dog.
Yeah.
And listen, if you went back to when Lamont was hired, that man drove his car for the interview to get to this place. And there are plenty of other coaches around the country that if they got this call, they would pack their bags immediately and drive, walk, crawl to be in the SEC. So
take a train.
Planes, trains, and automobiles. So I hear you, man. I hear you being in the SEC or last, but you're going to have to figure it out.
Yeah.
That admin's going to have to figure something out. Obviously, more money was always cool. Nobody will turn that away. But you're still in the SEC, and you knew that coming in.
I think that's what makes this so frustrating is because you are an SEC school with SEC resources, and it feels like they're not fully utilized, right? You shouldn't be. I mean, we're more than halfway through the SEC slate this year. And if you look at last year's full season, so in a season and a half of SEC play, you have 4 wins. There are schools in this league that are even in the middle of the road of the league, a team like Texas that gets at least 3 in 2 weeks. That should never happen, even if you are far and away kind of out-resourced. Now, there's clearly a gap between one and you, right? Because Kentucky reportedly invested $22 million into this year's roster. 22. You're never doing that. Nobody in the SEC is doing that because football is king in the SEC, and these schools are going to allocate a majority of their resources, whether it be from their rev share or NIL, whatever it is, whatever crowdsourced thing, along with what the schools can give these players themselves. That's not going to be something that takes away from football unless you're Kentucky. And they're the only school in the SEC that checks that box. So Kentucky is an unattainable goal, right? But when I look at schools on this list where I'm like, why is it that you're that much higher than South Carolina? I look at LSU. They're 10th. I look at Georgia. They're 11th. I'm looking at Vanderbilt, right? A school that for a while didn't have the money, and they didn't have the fan support in anything. Vanderbilt's been the number 2 most popular SEC team in their own town for as long as I can remember. There's more of a thirst, I guess, someone who worked in that media market, there's more of a thirst to know what the University of Tennessee is doing than there is what Vanderbilt is doing. But Vanderbilt's at 12 on this list. Ole Miss is also there. They had 72 points on this thing. I will never expect South Carolina to be above like a Missouri or an Alabama or a Texas A&M, Florida, Tennessee, Arkansas. Hard to do, right? Maybe it's too lofty. But you got to get it to where you're at least seen as above a Vanderbilt, a Georgia, and LSU. Again, those are the programs that are in your neighborhood. Now, this year, some of those teams aren't in your neighborhood because they've moved out. Vanderbilt was the last undefeated team remaining in the SEC. Georgia has played a lot better this year, and that's a team that's probably going to be an 8 or a 9 seed in the NCAA tournament for the second year in a row. They went to the tournament last year, and they're probably going to go back this year, barring a colossal collapse. Oklahoma and Ole Miss are kind of in the dumps right now, but last year they were both in the NCAA tournament. And those are schools, and Ole Miss specifically is one that's not a frequent flyer when it comes to making the big dance. It's one of those things where I understand not being in the higher end here, but being this slow, being last by this margin is something that I think Jeremiah Donati has to look at and say that is unacceptable. Even if this is something that's appearance, right? This list isn't going to win you any games, right? Kentucky's not going to get a higher seed because the coaches thought that they have the best coaching gig in the conference, right? This is just for discussion purposes. But being seen as this is something that is completely unacceptable.
I wonder what Cal thinks. Kentucky's 1, Arkansas is 3. What do you think he thinks?
I think Cal is probably saying, I'm in a better spot with Arkansas than I am Kentucky. But he's only in that spot, too, because he was a victim of his own success.
Mm-hmm.
And he only won one national title. Like, the standard, and I think any coach would tell you, that you want to go to a place where the standard is that, right? Is it a pressure cooker? Absolutely. I'm sure the Kentucky job probably took years off Billy Gillespie's life. And I'm sure towards the end of Tubby Smith's time, it probably took years off of his life too. And for John Calipari. But I will say this, at Arkansas, if Cal fails to make the second weekend, or if this team underachieves, because they have something going at Arkansas this year, or if, once the honeymoon phase is over, Arkansas won't be very patient because that's a fan base that has had a lot of historical success, that has won a national championship in the last 30 years. Well, 31. Push it back, it was 94. But they've won a national championship. They've made deep NCAA tournament runs. They care a lot about basketball in that market.
One of my favorite college basketball teams, that Nolan Richardson.
Oh, 40 minutes of hell.
Oh, what a fun team.
Buddy.
Corliss Williamson, guys, name and dudes, let's go. Scotty Thurman. Woo, I love that squad.
Thurman was good. Who was the big guy? There was one.
Oliver Miller.
Oliver Miller,
My
yes.
guys. I love that squad. Listen, man, the bottom line is this. When it comes to coaching, the good jobs aren't available.
Yes.
The jobs you get are the bad jobs, and you have to turn them into good jobs. That's how it works. The good jobs rarely come available. Why? Because people want to stay in the good jobs.
Yes.
When Clark Lee took Vanderbilt, wasn't a good job.
No.
Kurt Signetti, Indiana, not a good job. It's kind of how it works. When Lou Holtz came to South Carolina, not a good job. It's kind of how this thing goes. And you have to take what is considered a bad job and figure out ways to make it a good job, whether that's being clever with your resources, whether that's the admin allotting more resources, or whether you're just a phenomenon of a coach and you find some quirky way to get into the system. I don't know how it happens, but you have to take bad jobs and make them good jobs. That's how this whole thing works. To make the basketball comparison, when Don Staley came here, was this a good job? No. Right? That's how this goes. And so, yeah, man, you're at the bottom, but you're at the bottom of the SEC. It's so, hey, man.
There's places to be the bottom of.
Figure it out. I don't know.
That's again, yeah, because even the worst resources in the SEC is better than the best resources in a lot of other leagues.
That's what I'm saying, man. It's like, it's kind of like, you could be poor in the United States, and that's tough. But there's other places around the world where they'd be like, man, I would kill for that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Give me that
perspective.
And so, hey, man, you're at the bottom of the SEC. Figure out a way out, or wait for the next person to come in, because there are people chomping at the bit to be at the bottom of this league.
You look at the top two here in Kentucky and Texas, they are coach-proof jobs, because Kentucky, the way their basketball culture is, they will always invest that money. Texas will always invest that money because they just have gobs of it lying around. And Kentucky's won national championships with many different head coaches. John Calipari won a title. Rick Pitino won a title with him. Tubby Smith won a title with him. Joe B. Hall, Adam Rupp. Like, it doesn't really matter, right, for a place like that. And those type of jobs don't exist. For most of these places, like, we'll see how good of a job Auburn is now that we're continuing daddy ball here and daddy's not got the job anymore with Bruce Pearl. We'll see how good a job that becomes. But a lot of these places in the SEC, because football is king, you have to make it a great job. Coming up next, it's the early game morning meeting, and we love doing drafts. We drafted Super Bowl foods yesterday. Today, we will draft musical acts from the two participating cities. We'll do that next here in the early game.
Wow, what a play. The Game Network. Columbia, Charleston, Florence, and Myrtle Beach.
Powered by Integrated Media. The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. For auto, home, and commercial glass. ShepherdsGlass.com. In Chapin and West Columbia. The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. Shepherd's Glass. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Herndon Chevrolet is your hometown dealer. Stop by today or shop online 24/7 at HerndonChevy.com.
The Gant family with Pioneer Tree Service has been taking care of trees in Columbia and surrounding areas for over 48 years. Pioneer Tree Service provides tree and shrub removal, pruning and thinning, tree planting, cabling and bracing, raising tree canopies, stump grinding and removal, storm damage services, property cleaning and grading, right-of-way maintenance, and more. They also provide 24-hour emergency tree removal. They can also handle the removal of diseased and dead trees before an emergency happens. Call them today for a free estimate. 803-794-8253. The Gant family and their team at Pioneer Tree Service can be trusted to provide professional and quality tree services with affordable pricing for residential or commercial jobs. Ashton Smith called Pioneer Tree Service and said they came when she was leaving for work, and when she got home, the tree was gone as if it was never there. She was so impressed with Pioneer Tree Service, she will definitely use them again. Here's one of the Gant girls, Madison Gant.
Call us today for a free estimate at 803-794-8253 or check us out online at pioneertreesc.com.
Start your spring cleaning early and get an insanely clean home with Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. Take 20% off standard cleaning services when you mention my name, Elijah Campbell, at 1075 The Game, or book online at ZerorezColumbia.com.
From the heat of the flames to the roar of the crowd to the flashing lights and the waving towels, the experiences you'll have here can't be matched by staying at home. So make your plans to join us in Colonial Life Arena this basketball season. Single game tickets for Gamecock men's and women's basketball are on sale now. Visit GamecocksOnline.com to secure your tickets to catch a game at Colonial Life Arena.
Let's say you're looking for a hearty breakfast that's delicious and a great value, but you've come to a fork in the road at McDonald's. To the left, a warm, toasty, and eye-opening sausage McMuffin with egg, just $2.69. To the right, a 2 for $5 combo featuring a sausage McMuffin with egg and a mouth-watering bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit. How do you pick? Easy answer. They're both winners, because every fork in the road leads to breakfast at McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal. Single item at regular price.
Are you a small business owner, a church, or other entity in need of a new HVAC system? AAA Heating and Air has exciting news for you. AAA Heating and Air now offers financing to qualified organizations to aid them in installing a new light commercial HVAC system. It's as easy as calling 803-677-1500 for a quote or finding them online at callAAAtoday.com. Tell them Jay Phillips with 1075 sent you.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
Finding excuses to not do your taxes? Well, you can start today and file for free with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. Just file on your own in the Credit Karma app by February 28th and you'll pay $0. Start filing for free today. Offer only for those who didn't file with TurboTax last year.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
It's the Game Network Traffic Report.
We have an accident, I-20 eastbound before exit 44. Also, Two Notch Road at Park Lane. So a little extra caution in those areas, please. Some additional slowdowns on I-26 eastbound coming into Columbia. 41 for the high today under cloudy skies. Gonna be kind of cold tonight. Overnight low of 28, but it warms up tomorrow. 57 for the high, 53 for your Saturday. 37 with a little bit of wind right now on 107.5 The Game.
Early Game. With former Gamecock Preston Thorne, Elijah Campbell, and Jen Jensen. On the Game Network, 107.5 Game app, and at the Game TV radio on YouTube.
Yesterday, we drafted some delicious foods, and for me, I put myself in a carb coma. But today, it's time to do a Super Bowl draft where we take the best musicians from each participating city. And I think what you'll come to learn here is that
still working an earlier slowdown, I-20 eastbound just after Highway 378. That would be exit 61. Also, Nazareth Road at South Lake Drive, an accident, and Percival at Clemson. And that forecast, it's going to be a little chillier today, 41 for the high, and that overnight low of 28. But then tomorrow, more sunshine, 57 for the high, 53 on Saturday, 50 on Sunday, and we bounce into the 60s starting on Monday. So looking forward to that. 37 currently with a little bit of wind on 107.5 The Game.
Your home for the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game. WNKT Eastover, Columbia. A Cumulus media station. The Early Game starts with former Gamecock Preston Thorne, Elijah Campbell, and Jen Jensen on the Game Network, 107.5 Game app, and at the Game TV radio on YouTube.
The early game, third and long hour starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. He's Randy Young, our engineer. And Rachel is in the video production room here at Studio 803, where we conduct the final hour of every single show. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Be able to get all the alerts for whenever we go live, for whether it's a live show or for any video that we have come up, especially during football season when we do those live watch parties. That's where a lot of fun is had. And if you ever just get really bored here this offseason, if you want to see the total range and spectrum of human emotion, go back and watch our one from the Texas A&M football game this year.
That was fun.
0 to 100. About as fast as you can get emotionally in that football game right there.
That's documented. Yeah, that happened. I need to go back and watch that.
Just, I've gone back and watched like a few of them just to see, like how it looks and how it sounds or whatever. I want to go back to that entire one and just have it play the entire time as we're going through and watching that game. It's amazing what we can end up finding. But we will be talking Gamecock football, not that game. We won't relitigate things that happened in College Station earlier this year, or last year rather. But Shane Beamer did speak yesterday. We did get a little bit of an insight as to how this transfer portal class was constructed. And one thing that I love hearing about from coaches is what is it that you look for when you get into the transfer portal? And I think this year it's vitally important to have what you were able to bring in 2024, which was an element of leadership that helps you go further in whatever your goal is, right? Last year, I think they did a good job of getting a lot of guys who were potential, but maybe didn't have the football calluses or the locker room calluses that maybe other players would have. So let's think about it. 2024, you brought in guys like Kyle Kennard, Demetrius Knight, two dudes that played a lot of football. And that football lends itself to the experience that helps you become a leader in a room full of strangers, essentially, right? You have that experience. You're more comfortable maybe taking that role. This past year, you got a lot of guys that had, especially on defense, that had a lot of potential that showed it during the season, but maybe there's not the same level of comfortability when it comes to taking ownership of a leadership role. Like guys like Sean Murphy and Justin Okoronkwo were bets that you placed to bet on the potential. You got the production later, but they didn't have the same type of experience that maybe like a Demetrius Knight and Kyle Kennard did. And we did talk about leadership a lot during the season, and maybe you just didn't have it the same level. Without us being in the locker room to be able to vouch for it as a primary source, maybe you just didn't have it the same way that you did in 24 when you did win 9 games.
Yeah, so on top of that, you bring in the guys who are very comfortable in leadership positions. They're old and they're producing on the field. And then on top of that, the dudes you had on your roster were also of that type of caliber. Mm-hmm. Boogie Huntley, Taka Hemingway, Debo.
Yeah, definitely.
They had these dudes, so it was sort of like minds seeing each other. They were able to connect. Whereas this year, especially on defense, but you could even say on offense, they just didn't have those types of dudes around. Maybe they were a year away from becoming that, right? Because just because you aren't that doesn't mean you won't become that or you can't grow into that. But they weren't at those spots last year. So what you're hoping is you merge, and some of the guys that you've had have grown into their positions as leaders, and then you bring in some guys also, and maybe you can make that magic happen again.
And here's what Shane had to say yesterday when he was asked about kind of striking that balance between
getting talent in while also judging the character and leadership qualities of guys that you have to kind of just learn on the fly?
Yeah, it's hard. Those visits that I'm talking about, David, where we bring these people in here, we pack a lot into it. And it's not just, this isn't high school recruiting where come on and we're going to show you all the amazing things about South Carolina and let's do a photo shoot and wine and dine you. I mean, there's an aspect of that, but these guys that are in the portal, they're in the portal for a reason, and they're looking for something and a new opportunity, better opportunity to develop, whatever you want to call it. So we really dig into them as people while they're here. I meet with them. The position coach meets with them. Luke Day and the guys down in the weight room, they meet with them and really dig into them from a personality standpoint and, finding out what's important to them and everything. So it's not a, necessarily just wine and dine you and kiss your rear end for 24 hours. We have some open and honest conversations about why you're in the portal and why hasn't it gone well at wherever you're coming from, or why it hasn't, and what are you looking for, and all that. So you try and find out, when you're doing that, dig in as much as you can about them. Like I said, talking to the other school, trying to find out as much as you can about them. And then in the all-season workout, certainly any strength coach in America, and we're no different, we're trying to put our guys in tough situations where they have to speak and lead and whatever be, running drills, handling different things in the weight room, all part of the team building off-season program that every school in America does, and we're in the process of right now. And you see guys that, I'd be lying if I told you that after 1 month with Demetrius Knight that I was going to, or Torricelli Simpkins, that I thought they were going to become the leaders that they did for us. But you saw signs of it within their first month on campus, just the energy, the way they approached themselves, the way they handled their business. And then as they get more and more comfortable, they just continue to grow their influence and their willingness to speak. I saw it with Jalen Hurts when he came from Alabama to Oklahoma, and his initial month in Norman compared to what he was when he left and where he is now as a leader. I saw it with Spencer, because Spencer was there with Jalen and I saw Spencer come in here early on and not really just, throw yourself on the team and, hey, I'm here as the quarterback and I'm the leader, but it kind of happens naturally, and you got to earn the respect of your teammates. And I think those guys that just got here are, hard at work doing that right now with just the way they handle their business and on and off the field, what they're doing.
I think part of that's really important to remember is he mentioned kind of the balance between this isn't just, like whining and dining people and trying to gas them up to where they're going to come here. And really it is a recruiting pitch, but it's also an interview at the same time, because that really you can find things on tape that you might like from somebody, but maybe you don't see the behind the scenes stuff that might make somebody really good or make them a really good teammate and be good for the locker room and the culture that you are trying to establish and keep built.
Yeah, and it's more of a business trip. It's more of a thing where, do we have what you want? Do you have what we want? Can we find a way to make this work? And you kind of cut the fluff out and you get straight to, can you be a part of this? Can you not be a part of this? What was the configurations that we can make? So that makes a lot of sense. But I go back to the leadership part, is that, yes, guys are coming in, you feel your way around, everybody has to kind of sniff around, see who does what roles everybody, who's the clown of the locker room, who's the leader of the locker room, who's the guy who's always late, all these types of things, and you kind of figure out where you fit in the pecking order, and either you go towards the top or you figure out your way. But that's all part of the natural building of a team. It just has to happen so much quicker because you have all these new ingredients.
Yep, and that's the important part of this, is finding that out in a short amount of time. And that's the one thing that I always find to be really impressive for the teams that do kind of build through the portal but are able to strike gold on stuff like that. They're able to, like, anybody can just look at what Indiana did and say, oh, well, you got all these transfer players. Well, there are plenty of other examples nationwide where you get that same influx of transfer players, and it's a disaster.
Florida State?
Disaster. And it wasn't like they didn't get talented dudes. They had plenty of talented dudes. There's a reason people looked at that roster before the 2-10 season and said, oh, this is a roster that's good enough to be top 10 nationally. And that's the reason why before the season started, they were preseason AP top 10, right? It can go wrong really fast, and the challenge is just trying to find that all out in a short amount of time. And
really the teams that are able to pull this off the best are the ones who are great interviewers or great BS detectors too.
There you go. You got to do this preemptively. We can't wait till you get on campus to figure out some things that we probably could have asked. So that's why you have to have more honest, hard conversations up front and see what you can get out of that, see if you feel comfortable with that, because once they're on campus, it's probably too late.
It's definitely too late at that point, because then your team is what your team is, right? Unless you're Nate Oates and you bring in somebody who's currently playing semi-professionally and are able to throw them on the roster in the middle of the season. But the big thing, too, when it came to what I wanted to hear from Shane yesterday was a lot of stuff regarding the offensive line. I was really curious to hear what his evaluation was of a lot of these guys when it came to rebuilding your line of scrimmage. Because anybody that watched this team last year saw that the biggest deficiency was on the offensive line. The biggest thing that held your offense back was Lenore Sellers having to run for his life on a majority of dropbacks. And that's ultimately, in a lot of offenses that underperform, that's kind of the first domino that starts it, right? Yeah, play calling can be undesirable, but even bad play calls can turn into positive plays if you have time for them to develop. It never happened throughout the course of the season at South Carolina, so what they had to do with the mass exodus they had in the transfer portal was completely rebuild a new group of guys along with bringing in a new offensive line coach. And Jen, if we can get this too, this is going to be cut 13. This is what Shane had to say about the additions that they made to both lines of scrimmage, offensive and defensive line. But what I really wanted to hear was what he has to say about the offensive line additions.
I like, for sure. I mean, it's a lot of guys that we signed on the offensive line and can talk about all of them, but, they play with an edge. They're older guys. They've got a lot of production. They've been part of, winning programs, athletic. It's a pretty cool mentality in that offensive line room right now with that group of guys and how they're approaching their work day in, day out. So we wanted to, we needed to find interior guys. We needed to find tackles on the outside. That's what we went into the portal looking to do, and that's what we've been able to do. And a bunch of guys that have come in here either from, higher levels that have played Power 4 football, some guys that have come in here from lower levels, but really talented guys we feel like that have a really strong work ethic and a hunger to just prove it and get better. And then same thing with the defensive tackle position. I mean, all three of those guys, Jordan, Kelby, and Tomiwa, we recruited them all out of high school, so we were familiar with them already from the recruiting process, so we didn't have to learn a whole lot about them. And then, they're athletic and they've been around college football for a minute. It's not new to them, and they've increased the depth in that room and the athleticism in that room already, along with the offensive linemen, because we brought back some really talented guys too, Shed and Marquis and Josiah and the people that have been in the program for a little bit too, to go along with what those guys are doing. Nolan Hay, other guys that return.
So they returned some of the players that they wanted to, but also got guys that they say have an edge. And I think that's one thing when we discussed this earlier in the show, that maybe the most important thing you can look for in an offensive lineman outside of just experience, because with all the guys they brought in, they all total 10,000 plus career snaps in college football. That leads the country, according to Dog Stats, and looking at every school in the country and what they have coming back or coming in. You have, technically speaking, the most experienced offensive line in the country on a per snap basis. But finding that, along with guys who have the proper edge to be able to play this position in the SEC, also vitally important.
Yeah, and when you say edge, obviously I think you automatically jump to, like, does the guy play to the echo or the whistle? Does he have a little bit of nasty in him? And that is absolutely an edge that you want. But maybe guys have different types of edges. Like, are they a technician? Is that the thing that gets them above, or do they just have a super handle on the, like maybe your center just has a super understanding of offensive football and he's able to work things? There's all types of ways that you can have, but they have to have something about them that makes them special, and in turn makes the whole unit special.
Yeah, they can take them over the top, right? That might make them if we're looking at them as like commodities in a market, something that might be overlooked, but they have an edge that makes them as equally valuable as somebody that might have just a bunch of stars next to their name.
There you go.
Finding that can be really difficult. Seeing if we can apply that to the football field this upcoming season, I think is going to be the biggest question for this team in general in 2026. I think it's the thing that can either make for a special breakout season or kind of maintain status quo when it comes to where this program goes in 2026. But coming up next, the list finally came out. Field of 68's been ranking, by virtue of polling coaches anonymously, the best and worst jobs in each conference. The SEC's came out yesterday, and the results might be what you expect. But how can that change? Well, we'll discuss those coming up next here in the early game.
All my sports! The Game Network. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 96.9 The Game in Charleston. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. And 100.5 The Game in Florence.
This hour of in-show listening on 107.5 The Game is sponsored by QC Kinetics in West Columbia, the non-surgical regenerative orthopedic specialists of the Midlands. Request your consultation today at qckinetics.com.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Herndon Chevrolet is your hometown dealer. Stop by today or shop online 24/7 at herndonchevy.com.
Preston here for the good folks at Integrated Media. Listen, the winter is about to break and we're heading directly to spring. And we've been talking about musical acts all show. Well, how about you call the folks from Integrated Media and you can do like I do. Get your TV set up, pull up an old YouTube clip, watch a live concert with the folks from Integrated Media that have your sound right, that have your TV right, and you can sit on your porch outside and enjoy an old Heart concert from 1983. Whatever it is that tickles your fancy. Maybe you want to watch the New Edition movie and hear some of those songs. The folks from Integrated Media can help your whole setup get set up with home theater setup, adjusting your thermostat, monitoring your securities from your cell phone. Integrated Media is who you need to call for all of this. Call Nathan and Michael at 803-948-8327. That's 803-948-8327. Or you can reach them online at integratedmediainc.com.
Yo, this is Ray and Nathan with Pope Davis Tire Automotive.
Dad, why do the other tire places in town not like us?
They are just jelly about our lit prices.
Like the top 17-inch size for your Mommobile, $500 for a set of 4 out the door.
Or the top 20-inch truck size for $720 total, no cap.
You can even buy tires online at PopeDavisTire.com.
Why is my line just 6'7"?
6'7".
I don't get it.
PopeDavisTire.com.
Is your crawl space damp or musty? Water in your crawl space can cause wood to rot and creates an environment for mold and mildew that can make its way inside your home. Canty Foundation Specialist specializes in crawl space repair. Call us today for your free inspection so you can have the peace of mind knowing your crawl space is dry and your home is protected. Call today, 803-424-8380, or visit cantycanfixit.com.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $200-$300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code COIN to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code COIN for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code COIN for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Last year, I had back pain radiating down my right leg. The pain was so bad I was willing to cut my leg off to stop the pain. I could barely walk and had to stoop over when I did just to take pressure off the spine. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. In my professional career, I've represented thousands of people who've had herniated discs and issues with their neck and back, but never fully appreciated what they were going through until it was my turn. It's like trying to describe colors to a blind person who's never had sight. All I can tell you is it hurt like hell, but worse. My daily walk was gone, and that bothered me a great deal. Then I thought of all of you and how much more devastating this type of injury could be for you. My life stopped. I now feel your pain. Just know at Morgan & Morgan, we got your back. I understand. Morgan means more.
Injured? Dial pound law.
Joe Standifer, Esquire, 11915 Plaza Drive, Suite 301, Burroughs Inlet, South Carolina, 29576.
It's the Game Network Traffic Report.
I-20 eastbound after Sunset Boulevard, there is an accident there. Also, I-20 westbound between White Pond Road, exit 87, and Spears Creek Church Road, which is exit 82. Also, an accident Nazareth Road at South Lake Drive and Percival at Clemson. A little cooler today, 41 for the high, going to be a little bit breezy. 57 tomorrow, 53 on Saturday, 50 on Sunday, 60s for next week. So looking forward to that. Kind of cold this morning, 37 on 107.5 The Game.
The early game with former Gamecock Preston Thorne, Elijah Campbell, and Jen Jensen on the Game Network, 107.5 Game app, and at the Game TV radio on YouTube.
So all throughout the season, the Field of 68, which has done a really good job covering the sport of college basketball, it's Jeff Goodman's group, love consuming their content. They did something really interesting this year. And they've been going through each conference and they've been polling coaches and asking them anonymously to rank all of the jobs in their league, from obviously most desirable to least desirable. And the SEC was one of the last ones done. And I had a feeling throughout the year, the closer we got to it and the more that conferences went by and I was seeing a trend in some of them, I had a feeling South Carolina was going to be last in the SEC. And sure enough, yesterday at about 8:55 a.m., so right before as we were really going off the air, they released their job rankings for the SEC. To the surprise of no one, Kentucky was number one, received all 16 first-place votes. South Carolina was 16th. And them and Mississippi State, by far and away, the bottom two. Now, they have them on a point system based off of where you are voted in each ballot. And South Carolina had 24 points. Mississippi State had 32. Then the next lowest is Oklahoma at 60. So there is a sizable gap there between spots 15 and 16 to even 14. Now, we saw in the on-court product last year where 14 teams got into the NCAA tournament, meaning 2 teams were left out. You were one of those 2. And now there's a sizable gap between the first 14 and then 15 and 16. You are also in that pairing as well. Mm-hmm. A, how do we get to this point? More importantly, B, how do you rectify that situation to where you can reach an attainable goal of being outside of that bottom 2?
Well, when you read the article, you go through and read the article. Always read the article.
Always.
The thing that the top 3 schools on this poll had in common, according to the coaches, they all had the same thing. They had resources, they had fan support, and they had money. And what I guess they're saying, what these coaches are saying is they don't believe South Carolina has those 3 things. Well, I would argue about the fan support because I do think there's a thirst for basketball in this area, but the conversation has to go down to resource allocation and money to spend on the program. And it doesn't seem as if, according to reports that we are privy to, that all seems to track with what we know.
Yeah, it certainly does. And when you go back and look through some of those, a lot of people might be surprised to see Texas so high. And to be number 2 ahead of Arkansas, which they were by 4 voting points, they mentioned mostly just the resources and the money and the ability to acquire talent. They mentioned what Rick Barnes did when he was at Texas and being able to get a ton of stars year in, year out. Like, it's not just Kevin Durant. He had some NBA dudes,
You'd be able to build a really good NBA team just based off of the players that Rick Barnes got to come to play at Texas. Even Shaka Smart, even though they didn't win games, got a lot of really good players to Texas to play. And even Sean Miller, who I think has not done a fantastic job this year, I think it's maybe one of the more underwhelming coaching jobs. And one of the reasons why I say that is because he has a really good roster, including a guy in Dalen Swain, who you can make a case to be maybe the SEC Player of the Year. I probably wouldn't vote for him as SEC Player of the Year, but I would have him on my very short list of players to consider. But you're going to get everything you need at that job. And if you're the head coach, it's up to you to be able to get those pieces to work. At South Carolina, it does seem like the hill's a little steeper when it comes to, money to build the roster and maybe a lack of consistent history to be able to promote to a coach as something where it's like, hey, you can build something long-term here. We saw Lamont do it for a year, and we know what the last 2 years or last year and a half or so have been. We saw Frank Martin get it all together for a year. You've seen Eddie Fogler for 2 years have teams that were really, really good, but just didn't go far in the NCAA tournament. There's a lot of factors that go into really South Carolina ultimately being the last team on this list. In terms of how it can be fixed, like money's clearly the obvious one. One of the reasons why you're at the bottom of this list is because you were last in spending on rosters, reportedly, this year in the SEC. You can't be last. I don't think anybody's going to, call in and say, hey, you should do what Kentucky's doing and putting $22 million. You don't got that, right, to be able to just throw towards your men's basketball program. And it's probably never going to get to that point. But what you can do is be more competitive with some of the teams that are towards the middle on this list. I'm looking at LSU at 10, Georgia at 11, Vanderbilt at 12, Ole Miss at 13. I don't think there's any reason that you have to be worse than those jobs right there. Even at Mississippi State, those are schools that I think you can reasonably compete with and be better than on a year-to-year basis, and every few years or so be to where you can be competitive in the SEC. I don't think the standard is to win this thing every year, but it's certainly to be better than what you've been the last two.
Yeah, and that's the absolute standard. But as you're talking about that, I'm hearing you say that, and I said it in the 6. I'll say it again. Man, worst place in the SEC is still better than a majority of these programs that are competing in college basketball. And there are schools that are finding ways to work with, ways for it to work with less, and they're getting more out of what they have. That's kind of this happens a lot in high school. I don't know what your high school situation was like. I went to a huge high school. I went to Somerville. We had everything that we needed, right? Mm-hmm. But you would have sometimes this phenomenon where schools, would show up and they'd be looking around like, wow.
You have all this.
You have all of this. Whoa. And that can happen because there's large discrepancies in high schools, right?
Yes.
That can happen.
Certainly.
I don't feel like we're walking around into these different places like, whoa, this is what it's like being in the SEC. Like, come on, man, you're getting treated like SEC. You got all the stuff that you need. Maybe not to be competitive, maybe not like to win every year, but to be competitive, I don't think that's too much of an ask.
It's not.
For here. And I mean, I understand. Also, sometimes coaches just be like, well, I heard they have chocolate milk coming out of their fountains at Kentucky. You know what I'm saying? Like, coaches get into that sometimes.
They do, yes.
They have everything you need over there, or I heard – and sometimes they don't even know that. Man, I heard it sucks at South Carolina, and they may not know.
It might be exaggerated. It could be. A lot of it's hearsay because most of the coaches that are voting on this poll have not had the job here.
So, again, is it whatever the best job is? I don't know. But I say it again, the good jobs don't come open. You have to take over a job that's not considered good, and your job is to make it into a good job.
My biggest warning thing is when it comes to being in a spot where even the worst job in the SEC is better than a lot of other places, the game is definitely changing to the point where there are conferences like the Big East where they don't play football. They don't care about football.
Now that's something that you have to take into consideration.
That part is changing. So you're behind right now, but my warning is you can be further behind.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not careful, you will find out what further behind looks like. And I think that's a place that this school does not want to learn the hard way, what even further behind looks like. Because there are schools, again, like the Big East, the perfect example. St. John's is investing a lot more in basketball now. There's a good chance that if there's a really good player that you want and Rick Pitino wants them to, that Rick Pitino can throw more money that way. and they have resources to be able to get that, whereas they don't have to allocate those in other sports. Creighton is the same way. Xavier is the same way. You would never compete with them in football because they either don't play it or they don't care about it, right? Villanova is probably not going to beat you out for any football recruits. But if Kevin Willard called somebody that you are really wanting and targeting and offering a really nice package to be able to go play basketball at Villanova, they have the history and the resources now to be able to do that. So you're far behind now. But I'm saying it can be worse. You just don't want to know what worse looks like. Coming up next, it is part 4 of our series on Sam Darnold, from cooked to cooking, but this time, the breakout. What did Sam Darnold's breakout teach us about what quarterback development looks like in the NFL and football as a whole? We'll break that down next here in the early game.
Wow, what a play. The Game Network. Columbia, Charleston, Florence, and Myrtle Beach.
The Game phone lines at 803-404-6100. Sponsored by AAA Heating and Air. Now offering 12-month payment plans on all HVAC or electrical repairs with no credit check. Online at callAAAtoday.com.
We talk about resources with basketball teams or athletic departments all the time, and sometimes, there are different sort of things that come up to keep you from maximizing those resources. And real life is kind of similar if you're dealing with that pesky IRS maze. If you're having tax issues, it can maybe limit what your financial freedom looks like. And if that's something that's been bothering you, let me recommend my friends over at the Ecton Law Firm. John Ecton and his team at the Ecton Law Firm understands the challenges that you or your business can face, because it can be personal income tax issues that's kind of keeping a stranglehold on your finances, or it's your business that is experiencing tax issues. John and his team at the Ecton Law Firm have been working with both types of situations for many years, and with those proven local solutions, they've helped thousands of families and businesses just like yours escape that IRS maze and taking a step closer to financial freedom. Call them today, 803-771-9800. You can always visit them at ectonlawfirm.com. That's ECTONlawfirm.com.
Minus $346 million. Be sure to stop by your local South Carolina Education Lottery retailer and get your ticket today. See SCEducationLottery.com for jackpot odds and a store near you.
Start your spring cleaning early and get an insanely clean home with Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. Take 20% off standard cleaning services when you mention my name, Elijah Campbell, at 107.5 The Game, or book online at ZerorezColumbia.com.
Post Malone presents the Big Ass Stadium Tour returns for part 2 with special guests Jelly Roll and Carter Faith. Congratulations. 9-time Diamond Certified Phenomenon, Post Malone. Live at Bank of America Stadium, Charlotte, June 9th. Presale for City Card members is available now at LiveNation.com. The Big Ass Stadium Tour Part 2. This time, it's even bigger.
Looking for a tow that won't drive you insane? Schroeder's Towing has got your back and then some. With almost 2,000 Google reviews and a near 5-star rating, Schroeder's Towing is the most respected hookers in town. Whether you're stuck on the side of the road or just need a lift, our reliable service is always ready to roll with 24-hour towing and emergency services. Call Schroeder's Towing today. Always on, always there.
Schroeder's Towing, the best and fastest hookers in town.
It's a new year, Columbia, so why not stop painting year after year and do what Josh did? He called Rhino Shield.
We have a cedar-sided home at the edge of the woods, painted like 1980s beige. We wanted something that was more of a mid-century modern look. We were driving around and we saw a sign in somebody's yard that said Rhino Shield. It's not paint.
It's not paint, it's better.
We gave Rhino Shield a call, and they were fantastic with the arrangement on the schedule. The 25-year guarantee was important to us. This is our forever home, and we want to make sure that whatever we're doing is going to last a long time.
Columbia, get the guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield now for 15% off the regular price.
I'd say if you're thinking about Rhino Shield, just do it. It's been 2 years now, and it still looks like the day it went on.
Here's owner Dan Hoey.
This offer's limited, so call today at 833-RHINO-99 or visit RhinoShieldCarolina.com. Don't paint.
Don't vinyl.
Go
Rhino.
Don't paint.
Don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
This time of year, the weather can change dramatically. You need reliable heat to keep your family safe and comfortable. Trust the experts at On-Call Plumbing, Heating, and Air. They have trained technicians, not trained salespeople. As a locally owned and operated company, you can count on them to be there when you need them. Download the On-Call app for a convenient way to set up service. Visit OnCallSC.com or call 803-781-HELP.
On-Call Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Pick up the phone and we'll be right there. Call 781-HELP.
Everybody loves streaming till you have to pay for it. Just download the 107.5 The Game app and stream us for free. It's the Game Network Traffic Report.
Bar Road at Highway 1, we have an accident there. Also I-20 eastbound just after Sunset Boulevard. I-20 westbound between White Pond Road and Spears Creek Church Road. I-77 southbound at I-20 and Nazareth at Highway 6. We also have a big snarl, no traffic passing on the Gervais Street Bridge at this point. So finding an alternate route, and that also means that things are really slow there on Alexander and on State Street and trying to get across the Blossom Street Bridge. So if you need to get into downtown, maybe Jarvis Clapman is one direction to go, or I-126. But as of right now, we're not sure what's going on, but not really able to get across the Gervais Street Bridge. And as far as forecast goes, that's at least looking pretty good. High today, 41, 57 tomorrow. It's 37 right now.
The Early Game. With former Gamecocks Preston Thorne, Elijah Campbell, and Jen Jensen. On the Game Network, 107.5 Game app, and at the Game TV radio on YouTube.
To cooking, the Sam Darnold story. Before we get to part 4 of this, where we talk about the breakout or the breakthrough, whatever you want to look at, I did want to give an update on our experiment from yesterday.
Okay.
Our Wisdom of Crowds experiment, the ultimate Wisdom of Crowds experiment. A lot of great submissions on the text line of sending your score prediction in the winner for the Super Bowl. However, if you haven't sent it, 803-404-6100, the Firehouse Subs text line. I'm still taking sample here. I want to get as a large a sample size as possible, but through the first 65 submissions, I went ahead and did the math. I still have more that I haven't counted yet, right? But through the first 65 yesterday, I tallied it up, and our average score was Seahawks 25, Patriots 20.
Okay.
Technically speaking, it was Seahawks 25.5, Patriots 20.2. So the total would be 45.7.
Would 25-20 be a Super Bowl scoregami?
It would.
Okay.
It certainly would. Just going through scores in my head of previous Super Bowls.
Jay, get the button. Get the button.
I cannot recall a 25-20 final score in the Super Bowl.
Go outside, nerd. Get out. Go.
My brain cannot find a previous 25-20 score. That's how I feel when I talk, when I say stuff like that, which is pretty frequent. But that's as of right now. Now I've gotten another 15 submissions since then. But if you have not submitted, please, 803-404-6100. More scores. The more scores, the better. We got Rachel in here who gave us her score. She says Seahawks 27-21. Our pal Kale said Seahawks 17-7. So the larger the sample size, the better. And I've been working the phones. We're getting as many of these as humanly possible. So take part. And then on Monday, we'll see exactly how close our crowdsourcing got to actually predicting the big game. But part of that prediction, if you were sending your texts in right now, you're probably thinking about how much is Sam Darnold going to impact this game? Because he's the biggest story when it comes to things that you can latch onto from a human interest perspective. Because of his failures early in his career, because of how he was viewed publicly, we've gone through and chronicled what it was when he was drafted, how he failed in New York and Carolina, and then his sabbatical he took with San Francisco and Minnesota to get to where he is now. And when you looked at his performances during the season, you saw him really mirroring some of the success he had with Minnesota,
The rightful question, and very fair question, would be, can he do it in the playoffs? Because he had a playoff game against the Los Angeles Rams where he got sacked 9 times, turned the ball over on multiple occasions, and looked bad. You could even say he was seeing ghosts, to use his own words from a previous bad performance in his career. But in 2 playoff games with Seattle, he has played very well. And in that NFC title game, he throws for over 300 yards, doesn't make any mistakes, helps win them the game. It wasn't like a Trent Dilfer type of thing where the defense did not give up a score in the Super Bowl and you won because you showed up and didn't mess it up. They won because Sam Darnold helped lead that offense up and down the field throughout the course of that entire game. So, what did we learn from his break when it comes to his real breakthrough in the playoffs? Because I think that's what's really separating the Seattle version of Sam Darnold from the Minnesota version of Sam Darnold.
We're just learning about quarterback development, and that sometimes it takes a little bit longer. And when you get a quarterback in a competent organization, because even when you said that, said about his failure early on, he failed, but it was with the Jets. It's so bad.
Everybody fails. It's a failure factory.
Again, to go back to the analogy I made a couple weeks ago about the fish in the pond. If a quarterback doesn't work because it's the Jets, is it the quarterback or is it the Jets? I think we have evidence to suggest that it's the Jets. So he moves on. He gets better. He gets into competent coaching, competent organizations, and that some of the throws he made on that NFC title game were as good as any you'll see in NFL playing. He was on fire.
He's surgical.
Now, what the question is that closer to who he is, or is the last year's game at Minnesota, that sort of end of his tenure there, closer to who he is? And that's what makes this story so intriguing, because as much as I want to jump on board with the Sam Darnold conversation, I just still see him pointing at the thing and saying he's out. With mono. I can't get it out of my head, Elijah. I still hear him saying I'm seeing ghosts. And that's not fair to him.
No, because
he's come a long way since then.
A quarterback wouldn't have that if they were playing in the 70s or 80s. The internet age kind of
That's what I'm saying. I feel like everything about the internet has skewed our ideas about Sam Darnold. And so, point blank, Elijah, do you trust Sam Darnold to make the throw that he needs to make on Sunday?
Yes. And if we did the QB coach combo discussion like we did in the last hour, if it's going to the quarterback I trust more, I said it was pretty much a wash, but if you held a gun to my head and made me pick, I'm picking Sam Darnold right now.
Yeah.
Because progress isn't always linear. With athletes, with human beings, anything in your own personal development, like progress isn't always linear. But we are seeing a linear trend with Sam Darnold where he's learned different lessons along the way. He had to learn how to live with being a failure of a quarterback, with a failure of an organization. He had to learn through being a backup. He had to learn through the experience of having a successful regular season, then going in the playoffs and realizing this is different. Like, every really good quarterback does have a rite of passage game in the playoff where you just get your tail kicked for 4 quarters. Peyton Manning had like 3 playoff runs where he had nothing but getting his tail kicked for 4 quarters. Even, Patrick Mahomes in his first playoff run in the AFC title game, he ended up throwing for a lot of yards, but he threw almost 20 incompletions in that game and wasn't enough to be able to win. Matt Stafford got his tail kicked in his first playoff game. Like, you can point to so many different guys. Ben Roethlisberger in his first playoff run, he won his first 13 games as a starter, goes in the playoffs, they win a game against the New York Jets where he throws like 3 or 4 interceptions in that game. A couple of them returned for touchdown, and then goes to the AFC title game. They win because the defense was really good. They didn't give up an offensive score in that game. And then they go to the AFC title game in 2004, and he throws a pick 6. He throws multiple interceptions, and they end up losing 41-27. Patriots go to the Super Bowl. He stays home. He learned that lesson, and then what did we see from him a couple of years later? Once he got some playoff calluses, he made one of the greatest throws in the history of the Super Bowl itself. With Sam Darnold, he didn't get that rite of passage game until he was much later in his career than the other examples that I can allude to. But because he started in New York and that went so poorly, he's having this he had that at age 27, whereas other quarterbacks might have it at 23, 24, but it's still necessary to his growth as a quarterback. And I think from just last year to this year, if you look at his playoff performances, there were a lot of lessons learned. Maybe not taking some of the sacks that he took in that Rams game, because a couple of them, if you remember that game, were atrocious sacks where he holds onto the ball for way too long.
You're not seeing him make those mistakes in the first 2 games with Seattle. You're not seeing him make those crucial interceptions like he did with Minnesota in those games, or at least that playoff game and that Week 18 that determined if they were hosting or not. I think you've already seen some of that growth from him to the point where maybe the most important lesson he learned to be able to get him from good to being really good and a quarterback you can trust to win you the big one is the lesson he's learned from just the last 365 days.
If you were the GM of the Minnesota Vikings, and if you were the GM of the Seattle Seahawks, if you were the GM of the Vikings, would you have re-signed Sam Darnold?
You know what? Hindsight is 20/20, and hindsight leads me to believe yes. I probably would have done the same thing the Minnesota Vikings did.
That's what's so strange about it, because I probably wouldn't have re-signed him, and if I was the Seahawks, I don't know if I would have signed him either. And so I think everybody made the right decisions on Sam, and he's proven the belief that the Seahawks had in him. And to your point, he's a seasoned veteran now. I love that word about the calluses. He has all of that. Mm-hmm. I think he's ready for the moment.
I think so too.
And I don't think the lemon booty's always there, but I don't think the moment's going to be huge for him.
Yeah, and that's what's so fun to watch for on Sunday is whether or not all of that ultimately comes to fruition and plays itself out on the game's biggest stage, on sports' biggest stage. If he does pull that off and we can trust him in that game, the Seahawks can expect themselves to be winners. We'll give you our winners for today's show, brought to you by the Golden Spur, coming up next here in the early game.
All my sports! The Game Network. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 96.9 The Game in Charleston. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. And 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Go to 1075thegame.com and check out this sweet deal. $50 to spend at Jay's Corner for only $12.50. Just click on Sweet Deals.
This is a Westwood One Sports Minute.
Sponsored by Robinhood. Your money, your move. Ole Miss Trinidad Chambliss, the starting quarterback, has been denied his appeal for a 6th year of eligibility by the NCAA. This now throws the NFL draft on its head a bit, as Fernando Mendoza is the number 1 prospect, but Trinidad Chambliss won't be far behind in the quarterback category. It should be a first-round pick. I'm Jarek Toll.
What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can test your sports IQ in real time with Robinhood Prediction Markets. It's not you against the house, it's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions all game long. You know the game, put it to use. Trade every play with Robinhood. Download the app today. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm.
In a world in need of a hero, one man rises to the challenge in style. He is...
just driving the kids to soccer practice.
Make every day feel epic in the all-new Hyundai Palisade Hybrid with up to an EPA-estimated 619 miles of range on select trims, advanced tech, and class-leading interior space. Visit HyundaiUSA.com or call 562-314-4603 for more details.
And hey, come on, no cleats on the seats.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 80% water, right? It doesn't clean as well.
80% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure, concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Oh, let me make an announcement.
Attention shoppers, if you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Stop paying for watered-down detergents. Pay for clean. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Pods. Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
President's Day savings are happening now at the Home Depot with up to 40% off select appliances. Looking to upgrade your fridge? Check out LG's newest model, serving up ice in all kinds of styles. Cube, crushed, craft ice, and now new mini craft ice straight from the dispenser. From cold brew to fizzy favorites, these refrigerators will have you entertaining like a pro. Shop President's Day savings and get up to 40% off, plus free delivery on select appliances like LG at the Home Depot. Free delivery on appliance purchases of $1,498 or more. Offer valid February 5th through the 25th, U.S. only. See store online for details.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 80% water, right? It doesn't clean as well.
80% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure, concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Oh, let me make make an announcement.
Attention shoppers, if you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Stop paying for watered-down detergents. Pay for clean. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Pods. Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
President's Day savings are happening now at the Home Depot with up to 40% off select appliances. Looking to upgrade your fridge? Check out LG's newest model, serving up ice in all kinds of styles. Cube, crushed, craft ice, and now new mini craft ice straight from the dispenser. From cold brew to fizzy favorites, these refrigerators will have you entertaining like a pro. Shop President's Day savings and get up to 40% off, plus free delivery on select appliances like LG at the Home Depot. Free delivery on appliance purchases of $1,498 or more. Offer valid February 5th through the 25th, U.S. only. See store online for details.
The early game with former Gamecock Preston Thorne, Elijah Campbell, and Jen Jensen on the Game Network, 107.5 Game app, and at the Game TV radio on YouTube.
It is more about them than it is about the team. Cannot play with them, cannot win with them, cannot coach with them, can't do it. I want winners. Winners.
Oh, we have plenty of winners to satisfy Mike Singletary's thirst. And I'm not going to throw up Vernon Davis for him. Vernon Davis will never be a Golden Spur winner because maybe he is the Golden Spur winner for inspiring this entire rant to begin with.
True.
I think for that alone, yeah, Vernon Davis.
We appreciate you, Vernon.
Is the ultimate Golden Spur winner. Just on that alone. But our winners for today's show, I think the first one that I want to go with is one that we mentioned in the very first segment of the show. The Portland Pilots. Probably never heard of them. But as a college basketball team in the West Coast Conference, usually a punching bag of Gonzaga. They hosted Gonzaga last night, and they won the game despite their coach coaching in a boot because they had so many players out with illness last week. He was forced to play on the scout team, where he went on to tear his Achilles and is now coaching in a cast, basically, for the rest of the season. Did not stop them from beating a top 10 team last night.
Very, very solid pick. I would be remiss if through our musical draft, I have to go with the winner of New Edition as a group, as solo artists, Bobby Brown, Johnny Gill, Ralph Tresvant, Belle Biv DeVoe, on and on and on, dominating R&B charts through the 90s with all the offshoots of New Edition. Winners.
Big winners.
Big winners. I even want to throw some of my picks on there too. Like winner, Seattle grunge music.
Cool.
I love genres of music that was mastered by one very specific geographical location.
And time,
right? Like you think about all the bands that came out of that Seattle area in the early 90s. You have, two of my picks here, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains. One of your picks, Nirvana. We had an honorable mention on the text line, Stone Temple Pilots.
Yeah, and what list are you didn't even say Pearl Jam.
Didn't even say Pearl Jam. Had Pearl Jam on the big board.
Come on.
They got left out there. And I like Pearl Jam, just not as much as those others, but those are all great, record-breaking type bands that came from just the same place at the same time. It is maybe my favorite overall. I waffle back and forth depending on the day. Some days my favorite genre to listen to is 60s and 70s psychedelic rock. Sometimes it's 90s, grunge. Sometimes it's 90s hip hop. I've got 3 or 4 of just my go-to genres, but I'm almost never not in a mood to listen to at least one of those groups.
Yeah, and again, this is very formative years for Preston. So this is peak MTV watching years. So I'm watching all of this stuff sort of develop and come over time. That's why I'm very, very familiar with that. So if you see me at a karaoke and Black Hole Sun breaks out and you see your boy break out a tune, mind your business. That's my joint.
See me do it? No, you didn't. Or if it's really good and you think it's really good, you did.
That is a definite gem. I'm gonna stay with musicians since we are here. Did not make the big board, but Seattle claims one Quincy Jones.
Oh man,
one of the greatest American producers claims Seattle as his place. Imagine this: Seattle, 50s. Quincy Jones, and who is he having his band just playing around in the neighborhood? Jimi Hendrix.
Just hanging around.
Just chilling in Seattle. What? How does that happen? Very, very wild occurrence of place. So, yeah, Quincy Jones and Jimi Hendrix, winners.
Remarkable. Music Town.
It's nuts actually.
One just wouldn't expect.
You know what it is? It's just isolation. They're far away.
And it rains all the time.
What else are we gonna do but sit in our garages and make music?
Was Albert Hammond, his hit song, It Ever Rains in California? Well, it always rains in Seattle, Washington. It's the polar opposite of that song.
Man, I've been to Seattle twice. The first time I got there, no lie, gray, overcast. I was like, I'm here.
It's a perfect day to go.
Their Chamber of Commerce day is a lot different than everybody else's.
It looks significantly different. Looks significantly different. I've always loved to take a poll of Seattle residents and be like, would it feel too weird if you had a whole month of sunshine? Would it just feel too foreign to you that you couldn't even enjoy it?
I also pulled up on Seattle, and it was the summer equinox. And if you're not familiar, I did not know this was going to happen, but when you go to Seattle in the summer equinox, they have an event where everybody rides their bicycles through the city naked.
Oh.
I had no clue.
Surprise! I would love to just see the look on your face whenever you see just a horde of naked bikers going around you.
What is that? I was like, oh, I am in Seattle.
I am in Seattle, yeah. I was like, you're on a different planet. Oh, goodness. Another winner, Nerds, because I looked at the text line to see if I got any more scores, and I did, with one going, add this to your equation, Nerds, Seahawks win 28-17. Thank you for participating. I appreciate that.
I'm going to make my equation.
I am going to add the data as soon as we
stronger data sets.
I have my glasses on. I need to do the whole push them with my pointer finger back to the top of the bridge of my nose. Can't wait to get shoved in a locker after this. You all are winners for hanging out with us. Jack Veltri, Tyler Head, The Extra Point. They're winners, and as always, they're next. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Herndon Chevrolet is your hometown dealer. Stop by today or shop online 24/7 at HerndonChevy.com.
Sponsored by King's Hawaiian Sliders.
Texting enrolls you in recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season.
I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that